Zion Aleph. If Tuma is within a wall inside a space that is a cubed handbreadth, every story above it becomes Tameh, even if there are 10 stories. If an upper story is built over two houses and there is Tuma in the wall between the two houses, it becomes Tameh, but all the stories above it remain Tahor. Thank you. If the Tuma inside a dike, it penetrates directly upward and downward. If a tombstone is on top of an occluded grave, someone who touches its side remains Tahor because the Tuma penetrates only upward and downward. But if the place of Tuma contains a cubed handbreadth of empty space, one who touches any part of the tombstone becomes Tameh because it is treated as a sealed grave. If huts were leaned against it, they become Tameh, and Rabbi Yehuda declares them Tahor. All the sloping sections of a tent are considered part of the tent. In the case of a tent whose walls slope downward and its upper end is only as wide as a finger, if there is Tuma inside the tent, utensils under the slope become Tameh. And if there is Tuma under the slope, utensils inside the tent become Tameh. If there is Tuma inside a tent, someone who touches the inside of the tent becomes Tameh for 7 days, whereas someone who touches the outside of the tent becomes Tameh only in the evening. If there is Tuma on the outside of the tent, someone who touches the outside of the tent becomes Tameh for 7 days, whereas someone who touches the inside of the tent becomes Tameh only until evening. If there is a half olive-sized piece on the inside of a half olive-sized piece on the outside, one who touches either side becomes Tameh only until evening. If part of the tent is flat on the ground, whether the Tuma is beneath the tent or above it, the Tuma penetrates upward and downward. And if a tent is pitched on its upper story with excessive cloth lying flat over the opening between the house and the upper story, if Yossi says it contains Tuma, Rav Shimon says it does not contain Tuma unless it is stretched out the way a tent usually is. If there is a slope in the house with numerous entrances, all utensils in the entrances become Tameh, and if one door is open, it is Tameh, and the others are Tahor. If it was decided to remove the corpse through one of the doors or through a window 4 handbreadth square, Tuma is curtailed on all other entrances. Beis Shammai says it must be decided before the person dies, and Beis Hillel says it can be decided even after the person dies. If an entrance was sealed and he decided to open it, Beis Shammai says when it opens 4 handbreadths, it would curtail Tuma from the other entrances, but Beis Hillel says as soon as he begins to open it. But they both agree that a doorway created for the first time must be opened 4 handbreadths. Okay.
Okay, Mishna Daled. Isha shehi mekasha leled. Okay, so you have a woman who's having trouble in childbirth, and she's going to give birth to a stillborn child. Okay, so what happens is so they put her on like a hospital bed, and they wheeled her from one house to another house. Okay. And this is while she's in her labor, and she gets into the second house and she gives birth to a stillborn. Okay, so for sure the second house it's in here, but the question is going to be the first house. Harishon Tameh B'Safek. So the first one is Tameh B'Safek because we're concerned that her womb may have opened up to a dead baby inside the first house. If she's before she gives birth, if she's still carrying a stillborn inside her womb, that's completely protected, sealed off. There's no and nothing is tameh, right? Her body shields everything. Okay, now this is it's a complete chiddush. It's not like anything else that we have in halacha, because we've got normally if her body were made out of wood, we'd call it a sealed grave, and everything around it would be tameh. Okay, but her body is not called a sealed grave until when however she starts going into labor and her birth canal opens. That's when the tumah can escape. Okay, so we're not sure about the first house, but the second house, of course, is for sure. Okay, Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Emasai, when is this so? Bisman shehi niteles b'gapayim. That's when she's being carried, or wheeled, or something like that. Okay. Okay. Aval im haisa maleches, if she's able to walk from the first house to the second house, harishon tahor shemisha niftach hakeveh ein penai lahalech. He says that if her it's interesting, the kever, it's called the kever, but it's the womb. The womb.
Right.
As soon as her womb opens, she's not going to have the strength to walk. We're kind of anan sahadi that's not so. we like women who are giving birth are able to walk. We see that in the hospital all the time. I'm not sure what different circumstances there were in the time of the Mishnah, but that's like almost a standard thing that women who are in labor can be walking around, 5 centimeters, 6 centimeters.
Right. Well, those days, women used to go back out to the field right after they gave birth.
That's
No,
yeah. It's even more of a question on Rabbi Yehuda anyway. Ein lanafalim pesichas hakever ad sheyagilu rosh kapika. So, but here he says his so that's really the thing is that he's this is the summary of Rabbi Yehuda's words. He's saying that the tumah can only exit once the head of the child has crowned, basically. But no, I beg your pardon. I'm reading it wrong. There's no if the head of the child is smaller than this, even though the womb has opened and the child is coming out, it's still and then she would still be able to walk from house to house, and therefore the first one is Tavi B'Safek.
It says if a stillborn child does not open the womb unless his head is round like the size of a whorl.
Right. Okay. So it is probably talking about Rabbi Yehuda. So they are. I mean, the different interpretations. The one we're going with over here is that this is the end of Rabbi Yehuda's statement. He's saying that I'm only talking about the womb being open once a baby with a large head has started to push out. And there we can now understand why he's saying that she's not going to be walking once that happens. Okay. Yatza Rishon Meis. Now, let's say you've got a woman who's got twins in her womb. Okay, and the first one is stillborn, and the second one is alive.
If you stopped right there, I would think that the second one was also tummy.
Okay. Now you'd think that because because they've been sitting in contact the entire time.
Right.
Okay? But inside the womb, there's no tumor. It's only once the baby comes out that we have tumor inside there. Okay, but sheni chai tahor. So the second one, this is of course if the first child is taken out immediately, and then the second child comes out, then the second child is considered tahor. Except perhaps he would have tumas erev because his mother of course is going to become tameh from the first child, and his mother has got 7-day tumah. So as the second one comes out, he's touching his mother, and therefore he would have evening.
Right.
Okay. Harishon Chai. What happens if the first one is alive and the second one is dead? Then the first one is Tameh, even though they took him out the room before the second one came out. Why? Because he opened the womb. Now the womb is open and there's a dead child inside the womb. So immediately he's inside the same room where the tumah is coming out.
Right.
Okay. Rabbi Meir b'shafir echad tami b'shnei shfirim tahor. He says if you've got 2 amniotic sacs, i.e., if you've got if you have 1 amniotic sac, i.e., you've got identical twins, then he agrees that this is tameh. But he says if you've got 2 amniotic sacs, non-identical twins, then the first one is tahor even if he comes out, even if the second one is dead, because he's saying that the second amniotic sac is unbroken and still shields the tumah.
Right. Okay.
There, the halacha does not follow Rabbi Meir. Isha shimakasha leleid. Okay, a woman again having trouble giving birth, and now we judge that her life is in danger from this childbirth. This Mishnah is our source for when an abortion is permitted. Okay, her life is in danger. Her life takes precedence over the child. Perform an abortion inside, cut the baby up and take it out limb by limb to save her life. Because her life must take precedence. Basically, the lamdas is that the child is a rodef. It's going to kill her. You have to kill the child.
Right.
Even a rodef honest, even though the child is not, the child has no intention to kill its mother. It's not like it's a rasha, but the fact is that it's threatening her life, and therefore it has to be killed. Yoatza rubo, however, if it has crowned, as soon as the child has crowned, ein nogin bo, you cannot intervene, because now this child is also alive. You cannot say that who's got a greater right to life. So you see over here from this Mishnah that halacha differentiates between an unborn child and a born child. And an unborn child is not a full life.
No.
Right. So it's a very popular thing among the anti-abortion crowd to say, life begins at conception, which we do hold by to a certain extent. But there's a gray area over here.
All right.
That somebody who's born has a greater right to life than somebody who's not yet born. So this is where we kind of part ways with the Christian fundamentalists who say that that's it, no abortion at any cost. And halacha says no, that's not. The living people who have been born have got a greater right to life than a fetus. And if the fetus is threatening the mother, then kill the fetus.
Yes.
Once the child is crowned, now he's among the people who have been considered born, and you cannot choose the mother's life over the child's life. Okay. It's a very significant Mishnah, and if anyone ever asks you the Jewish state opinion on abortion, that's the one to point them at. Ohalos Zayin Vav.
Gimel Dalet. How so? If a corpse is outside and his hair is inside, the house is tummy, but a bone has on it an olive-sized piece of flesh. As part of this bone was brought under the roof in the house, and the contents of the house become tummy. There are two bones. One of each has a half an olive-sized flesh. If part of the bone was brought under the roof of the house, the contents of the house is tummy. If they were attached by man, the house remains tahor, because whatever is attached by man is not considered an inherited attachment. What qualifies as his death blood? An eighth of a log of blood flowed out of a dying person while he was still alive, and an eighth flowed out when he died. These are the words of Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Ishmael says a quarter log of blood that flowed out while the person was alive and a quarter that flowed out after his death were combined, and from this mixture a quarter log was taken. Rabbi Eliezer, the son of Rabbi Yehuda, says both of these are like water. What is death blood? When there is a hanged person whose blood was flowing out and a quarter log of blood was found beneath him, the blood is tummy. And a corpse's blood was dripping and a quarter log of blood was found underneath it, the blood is tahor. Rabbi Yehuda said not so. Rather, that which flows out is tahor and that which drips is tummy. We had this in another Mishnah also. Same kind of thing.
This is we just Zara on that Mishnah.
Oh, that's right. What a memory I have. Okay. An outside piece of corpse in a room must have an opening of 1 handbreadth, and a whole corpse must have an opening of 4 handbreadths to prevent tumor from spreading to the other openings, but to allow tumor to spread, 1 square handbreadth suffices. If it is larger than the volume of an olive, it is treated as a whole corpse. Rabbi Yossi says a spinal column and a skull are treated like a whole corpse. We had the mission that said that if you were hanging, if they found the person hanging. I remember that. Anyway. Okay, Gimel. What is the difference between a makav and a moshav? With regard to makav, touching it is different than carrying it, but with regard to moshav, touching it is no different than carrying it. A paddle sack of a donkey that one sits upon is tahor. If one changes the number of holes or open the holes into one another, it's tameh. The beer, the pillow, and the mattress of a corpse, these can become tameh with midges tuma. A bridal chair, a birthing stool of a woman in childbirth, and a laundry seat upon which he stacks the clothing. Rabbi Yossi says that these are not subject to the tumor of moshav. Fishing net is tamei on account of the bottom. Nets, traps, and bird snare, a wooden snare, and fishing net's traps are tamei. A fish trap, a bird trap, and a bird cage are tahor. Okay. We're going on to the next in Kalim.
Yes. The next.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next
good Kalim.
Okay. Ela. Okay. The above bet. A householder sends consecrated money with a deaf, mute, a deranged person, or a minor. If they carried out his assignment, the household has committed Me'ilah. If they did not carry out his assignment, the household keeper has committed Me'ilah. If the householder sent the money with a competent person and remembered that the money was consecrated before the agent reached the storekeeper, the storekeeper will have committed a Me'ilah when he spends the money. What should he do? He takes a pruta or utensil and says the consecrated pruta, wherever it is, be consecrated unto this, since consecrated items can be redeemed with money or with items that are worth money. If a householder gave the agent a batuta and said to him, "Bring me lambs with half of the pruta and wicks with half of the pruta," and the agent went and brought his lambs with the entire pruta and the wicks with the entire pruta, or the householder said to the agent, "Bring me lambs with the entire pruta," or "Bring me wicks with the entire pruta," and the agent went and brought him lambs with half of the wicks and half of the half of the wicks and brought half of it, neither of them has committed Me'ilah. However, if the householder said to the agent, "Bring me lamps with half of the pruta from such and such a place, and wicks with half of the pruta from such and such a place," and the agent went and brought him lamps from the house of wicks and from the house of lamps, the agent has committed Me'ilah. If the householder gave the same agent two prutas and said to him, "Bring me an esrog," and the agent went and brought him an esrog with one pruta and an pomegranate with one pruta, both of them have committed Me'ilah. Rabbi Yehuda says the household has not committed Me'ilah, for he can say to the agent, "I would have wanted a super esrog, and you brought me a small inferior one." If the householder gave the agent a gold dinner and said to him, "Bring me a shirt," and the agent went and brought him a shirt with 3 of the Salem and a cloak with 3 of the Salem, both of them are committed Me'ilah. Rabbi Yehuda says the householder has not committed Me'ilah, for he can say to the agent, "I would have wanted a superior shirt, and you brought me a small inferior one." Regarding one, that's it.
Yeah.
Okay, what are we doing after Me'ilah?
Tamid.
Tomorrow. Tamid, okay. Adios. Salary cap. But Shammai permits the co-wives of an Erva to the brides of the deceased, but Beis Hillel forbid them. If they perform Kalitza B'Rabbat, Shammai disqualifies them the Kahuna, but Beis Hillel deemed them qualified. If they were taken in Yubim, Beis Shammai deemed them qualified, but Beis Hillel disqualified them. And even though these disqualify and these deemed qualified, the Shammai did not refrain from marrying women of Beis Hillel, nor did Beis Hillel remain from marrying women of Beis Shammai. And despite all the Tahor and Tameh things that they deemed Tahor, but these deemed Tameh, they did not refrain from preparing Tahor foods or utensils of these. 3 brothers, 2 of whom were married to 2 sisters, and the third one was a bachelor. If one of the sisters' husbands died, and the bachelor performed mama, and the widow, and when the second brother died, Beis Shammai says his wife may remain with him, and the other woman may discharge because she is his wife's sister. But Beis Hillel said he must discharge his wife with both a get and kalitza, and his second brother's wife with kalitza. Concerning this, they stated, "Woe unto him over his wife, and woe unto him over his brother's wife." One who pronounces about prohibiting his wife to have marital relations, but Shammai says 2 weeks, but Beis Hillel says 1 week. And if she miscarries during the night, beginning the 81st day, Beis Shammai exempts her from additional offerings, but Beis Hillel obligates her to bring additional offerings. Regarding sisters in a linen nightcloth, Beis Shammai says exempted, but Beis Hillel obligates it. A basket of fruit for the Sabbath, Beis Shammai exempts it, but Beis Hillel rules it until it becomes subject to the tithing obligation.
That's it.
That's it. Okay. And we're on to Moakat. No. Yeah, okay. Moakat.
Yes, Moed Katan.
Right. And we have Olive Zion. We may not take wives during Kol HaMoed, rather neither virgins nor widows, nor when we levirate marriage may be entered into, because it is a source of joy for the one who does. However, one may marry his divorcee. A woman may make her adornments during Kol HaMoed, and Rabbi Yehuda says she may not apply lime because it is disfigurement to her. An unskilled person may sew in his usual manner, but an artisan may sew only with regular stitches. We may interface supports for beds, and Rabbi Yossi says we may even tighten them. We may set up an oven, a stove, a millstone during Kol HaMoed. Rabbi Yehuda says we may not roughen the millstones initially. Okay. And the last we have over here is okay. Base. Gimel base. No species of seeds may be sown in one bed, but any species of vegetables may be sown in one bed. Mustard and small smooth peas are species of seeds, large peas are species of vegetables. A border which measured 1 handbreadth high and diminished remains valid since it was valid at the beginning. A furrow or a water channel 1 handbreadth deep can be sown with 3 seeds, 1 on one side and 1 on the other and 1 in the middle. If the point of a row of vegetables enters the field of different vegetables is permitted because it is apparent that this is the end of his field. If his field was sown with vegetables and he wishes to plant in a row of different vegetables, the Mishna says only if the furrow is open from one end of the field to the other. Rabbi Akiva says the length is 6 handbreadths and the full width. Rabbi Yehuda says the width of the whole of a foot. If one plants 2 rows of cucumbers, 2 rows of gourds, 2 rows of Egyptian beans permitted. 1 roll of cucumbers, 1 roll of gourds, 1 roll of Egyptian beans forbidden. 1 roll of cucumbers, 1 of gourds, 1 of Egyptian beans, and 1 roll of cucumbers with Elias permits, for the sages forbid. Okay, got it done. Okay, go, hurry, go. Okay.
Okay, have a wonderful day. And we'll use the same, let's use the same link tomorrow. I've changed the group description.
Okay, good. Okay, thank you. Be well. Bye.